Hello, good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yejia, and today I'm going to show you guys how I created this beautiful spring top. My mutual on TikTok, who is also an absolute crochet queen, suggested the name Lera, I believe that's how you say it, but I'm going to link her channel down below because she also makes really great crochet tutorials and she also has really cute, delicate designs. If you are enjoying all the crochet tutorials and you would like to become a Patreon member, please consider signing up. These are all my different tiers for membership. You'll get perks like getting access to my master supply list, as well as access to written patterns that are included in your membership per month. And I think for the month of April, the written pattern for this top is going to be a part of the membership. So yeah, also thank you to my current patrons. I really appreciate your support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to ask me any questions you might have during any point of the video tutorial. I try my best to answer most of the questions. If not, many other people in the community will also try to answer your questions. And without further ado, let's get started with the tutorial. So the first thing that I'm going to show you guys how to make are your bra cups, and for reference, my total width is just under 7 inches, and from the very beginning row it's 3.5, like the center of my bra cup to the edge. And so to measure this for yourself, you are going to want to get the measurement from the center of your bra cup to the edge of your bra cup. Additionally, you're going to want to get the total width of your bra cup that's going to be necessary. And from there, you're going to start off with a chain according to your bust measurements. So we are going to be using the lemon peel stitch in order to form our entire top. And the lemon peel stitch, you are technically going to be working an even number of stitches, but you're going to start off with an odd number of chains because the last one is just your turning chain and you do not work your turning chains. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. We're going to go ahead and slip that slip knot onto our hook. And for myself, I'm going to be starting off with 17 chains. So that's going to be 16 actual stitches plus my 1 turning chain at the end. So to make a chain, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up, and you've just made 1 chain. So yarn over, pull up, and you're going to continue making this. If you want to adjust the number of chains to adjust for different measurements, just make sure that you are working an odd number of chains to start off with. So I now have my 17 chains, and I'm going to slightly twist my work so that I'm working into the backs of my chains right here. And I'm going to go into the second chain from my hook into the back of that stitch or that chain. So again, I'm skipping that first chain and I'm going into the second chain, but the back of that chain to be more specific. And I've just found that when you go into the backs of your chains, particularly on this first chain, you get a little bit less gapping in your bra cup, which I personally like. And now to work the lemon peel stitch, we are just going to be alternating the single crochet and double crochet. So once you've inserted your hook into the second chain from your hook into the back, we are going to start off with a single crochet. So to do a single crochet, you're going to yarn over and pull up, yarn over, and then pull through both loops on your hook. And for the next stitch, we are going to go also into the backs of our chains, so right there. But we're going to start with a yarn over. So yarn over, and now insert your hook into that chain. Yarn over once more, pull that yarn over up, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. All right. So now essentially you are just going to repeat this until the end of your row. So again, we're going into the backs of our chains. So I'm going to go into that next chain, and then I'm going to make my single crochet, and then setting up my yarn over. Now I'm going to insert my hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so we are just going to repeat this sequence until we get to the end of our row. Okay, so I have now worked my 16 stitches. As you can see, this is what, the end of that first row should be looking like. I have this bra cup in the back for reference, but I think I'm going to move it because my camera has been struggling to focus. There we go. Okay. So now we are looking at our first 16 stitches. Okay, so now we are going to start working back into this side of our chains, so right here. But in order to make the bra cup, we need to increase in this last stitch right here. Every center stitch for this like line right here that we've created for our increases, I'm going to be inserting a single crochet stitch. So what I mean by that is that I am going to go into the same exact stitch that I just put my last double crochet stitch in. And again, you should be ending on a double crochet stitch, you know, if you have started off correctly with an even number of stitches, odd number of chains, even number of stitches. I hope that's not too confusing, but essentially we are going to insert a single crochet into the exact same stitch our double crochet is in. And then at this point, I'm going to use a little stitch marker. Technically these are bobby pins. I use bobby pins as stitch markers. It's one of my favorite things to do. I don't know, I find it more convenient than a stitch marker. So the thing that you have to understand about the lemon peel stitch is that you are going to be working single crochets into previously worked double crochets and double crochets into previously worked single crochets. I personally really like this stitch because I feel like it's a fairly beginner-friendly stitch, but it helps you start to understand how to read your stitches a little bit better in order to like learn how to differentiate between types of stitches. So that's why I really like this stitch. It's also really drapey and good for garments in general. But anyways, we are now going to be working back through this chain. And if you've ended on a double crochet stitch from this like side of the row, then you know that in order to alternate it, you are going to insert a single crochet. So we're going to start off with a single crochet here. So again, just to recap, in this last stitch, we have our 16th stitch, which was a double crochet. We have a single crochet stitch that's marking out sort of the center line of our bra cup. And then we are beginning the second part of the row with a single crochet stitch. And by doing so, it'll allow us to go into the next stitch right here, right there, and I'm crocheting around my end to weave it in as I go. But we know that because that's a single crochet, we are going to be inserting a double crochet. Now you might be asking, how did we know that that was a single crochet? Well, you can look at your stitches. This is what I mean by this stitch particularly helps you start to understand how to read your stitches a little bit better. We know that the taller stitch, aka the stitch that kind of has like this more like straight line across it, this like clumpy area here, we understand that to be our double crocheted stitch, whereas the stitch before it, aka the stitch that kind of just has this V right here, that's a single crochet. This is like the third time this morning that this car has gone off and it's so rude. Okay, I closed the window, so hopefully you guys don't hear the blaring siren as much. We understand this more clumped stitch right here that my finger is on, that one to be the double crochet, and the V one to be the single crochet because it's smaller, it's less clumped. And so that is how we are going to start reading our stitches. So I know that this one is the more clumped stitch. My next stitch that I'm going to work into is a more clumped stitch. So that is giving me the indication that that is where I'm going to put in a single crochet. And we know that this one is just the V looking one, and so that one is going to get a double crochet. And then once you kind of get your row started, you kind of understand what's going on, and so you can just work the alternating single crochet, double crochet stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and continue working this until the end of the row. So just to check in and do a little stitch count, I am working with 16 stitches on this side of my bra cup, and then I've got my center single crochet stitch, and then I have another 16 stitches on this side of my bra cup. So if you are starting off with a different, again, okay, I'm just gonna continue, and I hope you guys don't hear the alarm blaring too loudly. But anyways, as I was saying, if you have a different measurement for your bra cup and you are starting off with a different number of stitches, the thing that you are gonna want to ensure is that you have the same number of stitches on each side of your bra cup. So if you're starting off with, let's say like 20 stitches here, you should be ending with 20 stitches here with the one single crochet in the middle. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work, and again, that's a turning chain, so you're not going to work into that chain. But like I said, with this stitch, we are going to be working a single crochet into a previously worked double crochet stitch. And so that means that the last stitch that I did was a double crochet, and so I know that I am going to put in a single crochet. So I'm going to put in a single crochet and then a double crochet, and then I'm going to keep repeating that until I get to my stitch marker. So now I've worked my first 16 stitches as per usual, which is just, you know, alternating single crochet, double crochets. And now I've arrived at my center single crochet slash my stitch marker, right? So I'm going to go ahead and slide that out. And the last stitch that I worked was a double crochet, and so I'm going to work a single crochet in the center. And then I'm going to make the single crochet for the center line of my bra cup, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark that stitch out with my stitch marker. And now I look towards the next stitch that I'm going to be inserting, you know, into, and I see that it's a double crochet, which indicates to me that that is going to be a single crochet worked into that double crochet stitch, right? And if that's the case, then I'm going to start off by creating a double crochet in the same stitch as my center stitch. And then in the next stitch, I know that I have to put in a single crochet, and I'm set up to make a single crochet because the last stitch I did was a double crochet. Right? And then I'm just going to start alternating my single crochets and double crochets again. I chain 1 and turn my work once I am done with that. And so just as a stitch count check-in, I am now working with 17 stitches on this side, then my single crochet center stitch, and then 17 more stitches on this side. And we are just going to repeat these rows again and again and again. And like I said, the center stitch is kind of where things get a little bit confusing, but this stitch pattern specifically is really going to teach you how to read between particularly single crochet stitches and double crochet stitches. We always are going to finish off this side, or like the edge of our bra cup, with a double crochet, and so we always know that we're going to start off with a single crochet. So again, I've reached my center stitch where my stitch marker is, so I'm going to go ahead and slide that out. And I can see that the last stitch that I worked on this side of the row was a single crochet, and so in the center stitch is always going to have those 3 stitches, which is comprised of the last stitch from this side of your bra cup, the last stitch of this side of your bra cup, and your center stitch, which is a single crochet, and that'll remain consistent throughout the bra cup. So because I know that on this side of our row I worked a single crochet last, I'm going to insert a double crochet into the center stitch, and then I'm going to create my new center stitch, which is my single crochet. And then again, reading the next row, I see that this first stitch is going to be a single crochet, and that's going to be a double crochet worked into it. And so I know that I'm going to start off my row with a single crochet. And I'm going to go ahead and mark out my stitch before I lose it. And then now I've set myself up for success so that I know that this single crochet, there's going to be a double crochet worked in, and that makes sense because it went single crochet, double crochet, and now it goes back to single crochet. And you are just going to repeat the sequence until you reach a size of your bra cup that, you know, is good for your bust measurement. The one thing that I will recommend though is that you complete a number of stitches from center to corner on one side of your bra cup, one edge of it, that the total number of stitches is going to be a multiple of 3. So for instance, I started off with the 16 stitches and then like the 17th center stitch, you know, and I ended with 29 stitches with a 30th stitch right here. This is my 30th stitch. There's 29 stitches on this side. So in total, that's 30 stitches. That's a multiple of 3. So that's where I stopped mine. It covers my bust measurement, and it's also a multiple of 3. So, and for the first bra cup that you made, you can go ahead and, you know, snip off the yarn. But for the second one, don't cut off the yarn quite yet, because now we are going to start shaping out the front of our top. So now I'm going to be creating the rest of the length of the front of the top. And for myself, I want to work 30 stitches, and so I'm going to start off with 31 chains. Because again, that last chain is our turning chain. We're not going to work it, etc., etc. I'm going to go ahead and start chaining 31 chains. And you can adjust the number of chains for however long you want the front part of your top to be. Okay, so now I have 31 chains, and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of flip my bra around just so that the orientation of my chains is good and correct. And I'm gonna go ahead and skip that first chain and going into the second chain from my hook and again into the back of our chains. I'm gonna go ahead and continue creating my lemon peel stitch as per usual. So again, that's alternating between single crochet, and I'm starting off with a single crochet and then creating a double crochet right after that. So I'm going to continue alternating my stitches all the way up, and then I'll show you how I connect this sort of front bottom part of our top to the bra cup. And now the reason why I recommended that you make sure that one edge of your bra cup is in a multiple of 3 is because we are going to now start connecting the front of our top, like the bottom front of our top, to the bra cups in multiples of 3. So what I mean by that, I am now going to go into this first stitch right here, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch that. So 1. I'm going to go into my second one here, insert my hook, yarn over, pull that yarn over up through everything that you have on your hook. That's 2. And then into my third one, yarning over, slip stitching it all together, and that's 3. And now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to skip those first 3 slip stitches that I used to sort of connect the bottom of my top to the bra cups. So we're going to start working into the previously worked double crochet stitch. Now I'm going to also start increasing my stitches because I just find that in order to have like a nice straight edge at the bottom of my top, you need to increase the stitches that you have at this bra cup edge because as you can see, it obviously will kind of go up. So you need to counter for that distance by increasing some stitches. So in order to increase my stitches, I'm going to insert a single crochet and a double crochet into my first double crochet. And then in my next stitch, which is a previously worked single crochet, I'm also going to work a single crochet and a double crochet. So I have just now increased my stitch count by 2 stitches. So the first row that we worked was 30 stitches. This next row that we work is going to be 32 total stitches. And my next stitch is a double crochet, so I'm going to work a single crochet into it. My next is a single crochet, so I'm going to be working a double crochet into it. So I'm going to continue finishing out this row. No increases, just as usual. So I'm going to finish out this row, and then I'm going to come back up towards the bra cup. It's all, you know, working the lemon peel stitch as per usual, and I'll show you again how to increase and attach at the bra cup. Okay, so now I have worked up my 32 stitches and I am back at the bra cup edge, and I'm ready to slip stitch my next 3 stitches together. So I'm going to go into that first stitch and I'm going to slip stitch. And when you're slip stitching, make sure to do it quite tightly. Make sure to keep a tight tension on it because it'll kind of help prevent from any gapping in between the bra cup edge as well as the rest of the top. So that's 1, 2, and then 3. Turn your work. And again, we're going to make increases. So again, in this double crochet stitch that we previously worked, we're going to insert a single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch. And then in the next stitch, which is a single crochet, I'm going to be working a single crochet and a double crochet. So now you've successfully increased your stitch count by another 2 stitches. So this next row you should work is 34, or you know, add 2 to whatever calculated number of stitches that you're working. And then you can work the next, you know, the rest of the row as per usual. And this is the method that you are going to use to continue connecting the sort of bottom part of your top to the edge of your bra cup. All right, so very exciting. I am now on my last 3 stitches to join, so I'm gonna go ahead and join with the slip stitches, those last 3 stitches. Then I'm going to go ahead and take out my little bobby pin marker, turn my work, and I'm going to go ahead and continue, you know, like normal, creating that increase in the first couple of stitches. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue working up that row, and then I'm going to work back up and I'll show you how I connect our second bra cup. So at this point I have worked back up and it's 50 stitches, so for reference, again, I started off with 30 stitches, I increased by 2 every single row, and so I ended up with 50 stitches, and I worked back all the way up, and this is kind of like technically the first row for your secondary bra cup here. So now we're going to start attaching our secondary bra cup, and I'm going to go ahead and slip that little bobby pin stitch marker out, insert my hook into where the stitch marker was, making sure that my tension is tight. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch my work all together using the same three slip stitches that we have been using. And now I am ready to turn my work, and we are going to start off by decreasing by 2 now. So essentially, if you are looking at it this way, we had to increase on this side, and now we're going to start decreasing it so that whatever number of stitches you started off with here, whether it be 30 or whether it be a different number of stitches, that's going to be the same amount of stitches that you're going to end with on this side of your bra cup. I'm going to go ahead and skip those first 3 slip stitches that I've created, and I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into the first stitch here. I'm going to yarn over and pull up. I'm going to insert my hook into the second stitch, yarn over and pull up, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You've just decreased your stitch count by 1, but every time we decrease, we're going to decrease by 2 since we increased by 2 on this side. So to do our second decrease, I'm going to start off by yarning over. I'm going to go into the next stitch, and I'm going to yarn over and pull up. I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch. This should be like the 4th stitch of your row. I'm going to yarn over and pull up. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on my hook. So that's how I decrease by 2 stitches for this row. And I'm going to go ahead and continue my lemon peel stitch as per usual, you know, all the way down to the end of this row, and then I'm going to come back up and I'll show you the decrease once more. Alrighty, so I have now finished my last stitch on this row, and I am ready to join my next 3 slip stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Turn my work, and then again skipping those first 3 slip stitches, I am going to go into my first stitch, which is the previously worked double crochet stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull up, going to go into my next stitch, which should be a single crochet stitch, yarn over and pulling up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook, and now we set up with a yarn over. And then going into the 3rd stitch, which should be a double crochet, we're going to yarn over and pull up. We're going to insert our hook into the 4th stitch, which should be a single crochet, yarning over and pulling up, yarning over and pulling through the first 3 stitches, or 3 loops on your hook, and then yarning over and pulling through the last 2 loops on your hook. So you've now just successfully, again, decreased by 2 stitches. So again, I am just going to repeat this sequence of stitch work until I get to the edge of my bra, and or I guess my second bra, and at that point you should be working the same amount of stitches that you started off with. So for myself, I should be working 30 stitches. Now I have both bra cups connected. At this point, I would also highly recommend that you are trying this on. I always recommend that you try on each piece as you make it, as you go, just to ensure the best fit. But for what you are specifically looking for here is you are going to be wanting to look for a fit on yourself that ensures that everything that you want is covered. And then as for like the waist portion, the stitch is quite elastic, and so it doesn't need to be like exactly half of your waist measurement, for instance, but as you like hold it up to yourself, it should cover, you know, most of your front. And just for reference, again, you know, I started off with 30 stitches and then I ended up with 50, and then I went back down to 30 stitches, and the width of the bottom of my front bodice panel is looking to be just around 9 3/4, a little bit under 10 inches. And in terms of height, we are also looking at just under 10 inches. So now it's going to be time to form the back of our panel, which is just going to be standard rows of lemon peel stitch worked over and over and over again until you create a back panel that will allow the top to stretch out over your, you know, your torso. And how many rows you are going to do is really going to depend on how tightly or loose you want the fit of the top, as well as other variables such as your yarn tension, etc., etc. But what I'm going to do is I have already made my chain 1 to start my row out here, and I'm going to go ahead and start working up lemon peel stitch rows, you know, all along the side, and then I'll show you how I work off of the edge of the bra cup, because those are not like as obvious stitches as these are. Okay, so I've worked up the, you know, first 30 stitches in the normal stitches, etc., etc., and now it's time to start working stitches into the side of my bra cup. So sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I always recommend that you go underneath 2 strands of yarn instead of just 1. And the reason is because if you go underneath 1, you're going to see a little bit more gapping in between your panels versus if you were to go underneath 2. So let me zoom you in, show you what I mean. We are going to want to work an even number of stitches along the edge of our bra cup. I'm going to start off by going underneath 2 strands of yarn right up here, creating my single crochet. And now I'm ready for my next stitch, and for my next stitch I'm going to go ahead and place my hook in here on the side, and I'm going to complete my double crochet. So again, I'm going to go underneath the sides 2 strands and then single crochet, and then I'm going to go underneath the next couple of little strands that I see, and then give myself a double crochet. So there isn't an exact placement that I can tell you that will like really perfectly summarize exactly where I'm inserting my hook, but generally, as you can see, I kind of twist it so I can see the sides, and I choose a bump and a bump right next to it so that I'm ensuring I'm going underneath 2 strands of yarn here, and then going ahead and making my stitch, my single crochet stitch. And then for the next one, just like we did for the last one, I'm going to go into a bump that I see and then a secondary bump right next to it in order to make my double crochet. And as you can see, by doing so, we are preventing from like a lot of gapping on the sides here. And then, you know, once you have like connected and made all the stitches on the edge of your bra cup here, then it's just creating lemon peel stitch rows over and over and over again. The one thing that I will say though is that I would highly recommend actually that you use a stitch marker, or you like write down somewhere how many stitches you are joining on the edge of the bra cup, because you're going to need that information for when you join this other side of the bra cup, because you want things to be symmetrical. So I have created, you know, my lemon peel stitch into the sides of my bra cup. So for reference, I worked 26 stitches on the edge of this bra cup, and then I'm just going to continue making rows and rows and rows of lemon peel stitch until I reach a panel that, you know, stretches across my back, and then I'll show you guys how I attach it to this other side. So I have finished my back panel. It looks a little bit stretched out because I was stretching it out and I was trying it on to make sure that it fit me. For reference, I have completed 39 rows of the Lebanon peel stitch, and in terms of the width, I am looking at just under 11 inches in terms of width, and then in terms of height, I am looking at, again, just about 11 inches. So I'm gonna chain one, and just a note as to like which row you wanna join things on, that is really mostly going to depend on which side of the bra cup you want to be your front. Now for myself personally, I like this sort of line that I see here, if that makes sense. Like I prefer this side join, whereas this side I can see it's a little bit more bumpy and it can look a little bit messier, and so I am choosing to end on an odd row. Then I'm going to join like this, so I'm seeing the side that I don't like necessarily, and then that, like, this side of my garment is going to be the wrong side, and it's going to have a very visible seam on the side of our top, and when you flip it inside out, then you get the right side. This is my right side, you know, this is the side that I have kind of arbitrarily chosen to be my right side. So in order to join this together, what I would recommend doing is putting a stitch marker to mark out either the last stitch for your bra cup or the first stitch for like the bottom portion here, just because that's a nice like visual marker that'll kind of indicate to you that it's time to start transitioning between the sections. And so I'm going to count out 30 stitches here. So I've gone ahead and marked out my 30th stitch, and I'm ready to start seaming together. So I hope you have, you know, marked out or written down somewhere how many stitches you're going to need to use to connect this bra cup, or this edge of the bra cup, because you're going to need that now. For myself, I used 26 stitches on the other side, therefore I'm going to use 26 stitches to seam this side together as well. So to seam them together, I'm really just going to use a standard slip stitch seam. And in order to do that, I've already chained one and turned my work. I'm going to insert my hook into my first stitch, and then I'm going to go underneath the first couple strands of yarn that I see here right on the edge, just like you had been doing for the other bra cup edge. I'm just going to find a couple of strands of yarn to go underneath to connect it all. So if you're like me and you really want things to be very symmetrical, you want a very professional seam and edge to it, then another like marker that you can kind of put is to mark out the middle of your bra cup edge. That is right here, and you can kind of feel a ridge when you do this. So by marking that out, I know that at this point I should have marked half of the number of stitches that I'm going to use to connect my bra cup. So for myself, I'm using 26 stitches to connect, which means that at this point I should be at right around 13 stitches. So that's just going to kind of help make things a little bit more symmetrical. And again, I'm just inserting my hook underneath my actual stitch, and then finding a couple strands of yarn, and then yarning over and pulling through in order to make my slip stitch seam. So now I am ready to slip stitch seam the bottom portion of, you know, my top here, and in order to do that, it's really just stitch by stitch. And because now we are going stitch for stitch, it should be a little bit easier to see and be able to seam up all together. So you're just going to continue using a slip stitch seam all the way down. I've gone ahead and I've made one of my cap sleeves. I really like how it turned out. It's a pretty straightforward process as well, but I have my little stitch marker marking out where I want my sleeve to begin, and for myself personally, from the center of my bra cup outwards, it's 22 stitches. So 22 stitches, 22 stitches. So that's just me personally, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch. I've already made a slip knot, and I'm going to go ahead and slip that right on and underneath that stitch. At this point, you can remove your stitch marker, and I am going to chain 50. That was the measurement that, you know, worked best from over my shoulder on both the front and back in order to, you know, tie it all together. For reference, it's measuring out to be just underneath 4 inches at like the widest part of the sleeve. And then in terms of like length, we are looking at about 5 inches. So in total, you know, this whole length is about 10 inches. So for me, approximately 50 stitches or 50 chains to start off with is going to stretch out to right around 10 inches, which is a strap length that fits me really well. Additionally, another thing that you are going to want to note is where you want to connect the strap in the back of your top. So for myself, I went into the 10th row from the side of my bra cup. That is where I started connecting my sleeve, and so that is where I'm going to connect the sleeve as well. And then I'm going to give myself a starting chain of 50. Again, this measurement can be different for you depending on how ever long or short you want your strap to be. So at this point, I have now chained my 50 chains, and I'm going to slip onto where I marked out where I'm going to start. So I'm going to go ahead and slip that right on. And then in order to start connecting the sleeves, the orientation can get a little confusing here, but essentially whenever I am slipping stitches in order to like attach the sleeve to the rest of my garment, I am making sure that if I'm in the back, I'm going to be working towards the bra cup edge, and if I'm in the front, I'm again also going to be working towards the bra cup edge. Okay, so like I said, I put my first little slip stitch joining my sleeve to the rest of my garment in the back where I put my stitch marker. So I used one slip stitch there, and then I'm going to actually use another slip stitch here in order to really get me started on my row. At this point, I'm gonna skip the first 2 little slip stitches that I've created. So I'm gonna skip that. I'm gonna kind of twist my work so that I'm looking at the back of my stitches, just because I like working into the backs of my chains. If this part is getting a little bit too confusing for you, you don't need to work into the back of your chain, but it is just something that I generally recommend doing. But anyways, I'm going to start going into the backs of my chains, and I'm going to start off by doing my lemon peel stitch, just like we've been doing. I'm going to continue working all these stitches down, and then once I get back to my bra cup, I will show you how I connect it, and then I'll tell you my measurements. And I am ready to connect, so I'm going to go underneath like the actual edge of the bra cup where I have like actual stitches, so it's not as difficult. And I'm going to use 2 slip stitches in order to seam my strap to my bra cup. And then I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to skip those 2 slip stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and start making my lemon peel stitch here. And all I'm doing right now is making sure that I'm crocheting around this end in order to weave it in as I go. At this point, we are just going to work back and forth, you know, creating the lemon peel stitch and connecting with slip stitches on the back side as well as the bra cup side. For myself, I'm going to work 5 total rows just like this, and then I'm going to start making my decreases in order to start shaping the cap sleeve. Again, the amount of rows that you are going to work may differ, just depending on how large you want the strap to be. So as you can see on this side, I've only connected 5 rows, and then all the rest of the rows are shortened rows because I worked decreases on both sides. If you need a bigger strap for more support, or you just like the look of a larger strap, make sure that you are taking that into account as you are creating these rows and creating the straps. But I'm just going to go ahead and finish off my first 5 rows for like the actual thick strap of it, and then I'll be back to show you how I shape that cap sleeve. Okay, so now I have finished 5 rows of 50 stitches, just back and forth, and connecting to my bra cup as well as my back. Now I'm ending my 5th row, and I am going to go ahead and seam 2 more stitches on this side of my bra cup, and I'm going to turn my work, and at this point I'm going to start shaping the cap sleeve. So to shape the cap sleeve, essentially all we are doing is making a decrease on each side of the strap. So we're making a decrease on the bra cup side, and then we're making a decrease on the back side. So what that looks like is that, again, I'm skipping those 2 slip stitch seams. I'm going to go ahead and into my first stitch, yarn over and pull up, into my second stitch, yarn over and pull up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And now I'm going to make a secondary decrease, because remember with this stitch, every time we decrease, we are going to decrease by 2. And I'm going to start off with a yarn over, insert my hook into my stitch, yarn over and pull up, insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up, yarn over and pull through the first 3, yarn over and pull through the last 2. So I've just successfully made a decrease, and I'm going to go ahead and continue my lemon peel stitch as per usual until I get to the last 4 stitches of my row. Okay, so now I'm at my last 4 stitches, and again I'm going to make my single crochet decrease and then my double crochet decrease. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to turn my work, and then at this point actually we are not going to connect the sleeve to either side of the garment, and instead we're just going to shape out the cap sleeve. And so to do that, I am going to continue by creating the decrease first. So again, I'm decreasing those first 4 stitches into being 2 stitches essentially, and then working my lemon peel stitch as per normal, as per usual, until I get to my last 4 stitches. Okay, so now I'm at my last 4 stitches. So again, I'm going to make my single crochet decrease, and then there is my double crochet decrease. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to continue making my decrease, work the stitch as usual, decrease, chain 1, turn my work, decrease, work the stitch, decrease, chain 1, turn my work, etc, etc, etc. And I originally started off with a count of 50 stitches, and I'm going to decrease it down to 6 stitches. Every row you work, you are going to be decreasing your stitch count by 4, because you're making a decrease on each side, and each decrease is 2. Math. But anyways, I'm going to continue making my decreases, and then once you complete it on the other side for the other sleeve, and that is your top. Here is what the final project looks like on. This was originally a tube top pattern that I was creating, but I unraveled that project to create this one instead. I'm still going to have to like tweak some of the design and calculations on the tube top pattern before I feel confident enough to release it, but I actually have some ideas on like creating additional border details on the top, like on the bra cups and whatnot. I also think that like a matching skirt would be really cute with this, but I absolutely adore the design. I think my neutral was so right. For some reason, lera just really fits the vibe of this top. So yeah, I hope you guys have fun crocheting this project. Like, comment any questions you might have, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!